Hi guys, I'm Shmee, and good news today, the Mac is back. All 4 cars now ready to head down to the Goodwood Supercar Sunday Breakfast Club. I think pretty much tomorrow by the time this video's out, but the McLaren has returned. Now, as I wrote on Wheel Crowd, it's had a new thermostat, pretty simple fix, well, hard fix for the technician working on it. He's had to have basically most of the back of the car off to get into the thermostat, but it's a simple sort of sensor type replace, warranty work. The car is now perfect, ready to continue, be driven as it always has been. So as these things go, that's actually been a pretty sort of small inconvenience, not a dramatic thing for a hand-built supercar like the 675 LT. But like I've said a few times now, all 4 of these cars are going to be driven together down to Goodwood. So this is going to be quite a lot of fun, and I'm rather looking forward to it, but it does mean that basically I need to fuel up the cars, get them all radioed, passes, all the things we need to take them all to an event together and not get lost. Now, I don't necessarily need to fuel them up, but I think it'd be nice for the guys if every car has a full tank to start, because we're going to drive about 150 miles in them all tomorrow. So I need to take particularly the LT and the GT8 out for a little drive. The LT, I guess, just nice to be back at home in it. The GT8, that exhaust valve thing that I have fitted, that I showed you previously, is pretty monumentally epic, and I thought it would only be right to drive it and show you what that is like as well. And the other thing I want to talk today about is Fuel Faction. The second Fuel Faction is taking place. Fuel Faction Due, which if your Italian is any good, Due means Italy. The entire event taking place around Italy, Turin to Sardinia. Not only am I taking a couple of my cars, the GT8 and the Vanquish, but also being joined by some friends this time around as well. So more on that to come later in this video. I can't wait because it's starting actually in a couple of days' time. So yeah, got to get the cars and myself to Italy, ready for that after Goodwood. This is going to be quite an achievement when it's done, but that tour, wait for it, is going to be mega. Anyway, for now, first up, I want to take out the McLaren. Take it out for a little bit of a drive today, get the tank filled up, and just nice to have it back, really. This feels a little bit like home then, and it is really strange how the 675 LT is completely, to me, the definition of a supercar. It's what I'm used to, it's what I know, it's what I'm used to experiencing. I know where the limits are, I'm familiar with it, and I'm just kind of completely comfortable in this driving position. I love having it back. It's been 2 weeks gone, of course, but it's back now, and in that time, actually, I've driven the 720S for the first time, the replacement Super Series. Now, not strictly the replacement to this car, because this car is that LT long-tail brand. It's a new kind of division within McLaren that they introduced specifically for this car, where the 720S is the upgrade or update to the 650S. But this thing is just so much rawer. It's almost the things that you think should be negative that actually make it better. The fact that it vibrates, you hear rattles all over the place, it's hard on the bumps, it's more aggressive, it's noisier, it's hard to talk to you. And I know on these cameras when I'm driving in this car there's a lot of background noise, especially if I start driving it harder, because of the tyre noise in the cabin. It's got Pirelli Trofeo Rs on it. It's a raw, vigorous machine, and then you start playing with the settings. I've got the MSO shift lights, drop it down a gear, the attention it draws, and just the noise of it. This thing is just raw and amazing, and I love it, and having it back is so wonderful. And I keep saying it, I want this to be a kind of permanent thing in my garage. I'm not replacing this car for a 720S. No chance. What I hope I can do at some point is drive this car back to back with the 720 to see what they're like literally when you drive them together. Because obviously I drove the 720S left-hand drive car in Italy on horrible roads, and now I'm driving this just, well, pootling in London. It's not really a fair comparison, but just, it goes. There are very few words to describe it. It just takes off, and with these tyres, the rate at which it just picks up and launches you into the next century. So yes, it's nice to have the LT back. It's brilliant. I don't know, just driving it, and I'm looking forward to taking it down to Goodwood. But I need to get some fuel in here, and then I'll head back to the garage, and we will swap, I think, first to the FF. Leaving that running, coming over now to the Ferrari, where I actually need to unplug the trickle charger. I've got car covers and trickles and everything all around at the moment. Open it up, climb over those. So the trickle in here is super easy actually. You literally just unclip this inside, he says, undo that, nice and easy, put it on the floor, close the flap, which has the DVD changer for those rear headrests that I've basically never used. Then we shut this down, head round. I'm going to go for the climbing exercise. Come round to the car. Fingers crossed, being on the trickle, we start with no issues. As you all know, the battery in this thing does get a little bit suspect at times. But we're into life. We'll be good to go. Getting out of the McLaren and into the Ferrari is one of the biggest changes you could ever do from one car to another. They're both, well, they're only 14 horsepower different. They're both insane supercars from flagship manufacturers. And I actually just went for the indicator stalk, forgetting that it was on the steering wheel. I should know better than that. I've driven this enough times. Anyway, the car, you know the drill. I've driven it a lot. This thing is just irreplaceable other than by a GTC Forlisso. And a friend of mine just picked up a blue GTC Forlisso, new one, V12, and it looks amazing. And I'm like, in a year's time, if he's got a good deal going and he wants to get rid of it, I know somebody that wouldn't mind it. But for now, I'm just gonna meander off with this, enjoy that V12 exhaust note. It's kind of like a dying cat in a really good way. I know that doesn't make any sense at all, but listen to it. It's brilliant. This is becoming a familiar process. Leave the FF and we'll come to the GT8. I'm actually going to come around this side, got slightly more room, which is not on the trickle because I just parked it here earlier today. So it is a little bit warm already and good to be fired up. So let's key in. Oh yes, it's always so good. And so today is where I get to play around again with this, the kit to open and close the exhaust valve. It always defaults to locked, which is normal car behavior. Unlock just opens the valves by opening the fuse on the valve. So this is going to be what I want to talk about now, as well of course as fuel faction. So I'll move this, park the FF, and then get on the way. I've got this in the loud mode, and it is really just smiles for days because the GT8 has been ridiculously loud to start. It has this full titanium exhaust. I have no idea how it's passed regulations and been approved for the road, but it has. And you've seen my previous videos with it, but now that the car is basically run in, I can start to drive it a little bit harder. So I have currently got it open in the full exhaust flap valve loudest setting. So this is stock exhaust, I've not changed the exhaust. It's purely to do with the valves. And just crawling in first gear, 20 miles an hour, 25 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. It is so loud, and you lift off and it's burble, crackle, rumble. And this is windows closed. And the car, it might have some sound deadening stripped out, but it doesn't have all of it stripped out. It's just volume. So driving on roads that aren't right by residential houses, this is fine. Driving past people's front doors, this would not be so fine. And if I just put my foot down, 40 mile an hour road, oh my goodness, like, it's ridiculous. And if we lower the window slightly, all the noise for days, and the manual and the way this thing's set up. It's a heavy car to drive, you know. I did a video, a Fuel for Thought, about how hard this car is to drive, because genuinely you get out of it feeling like you've had a bit of a workout, and there's a lot more effort than any of my other cars, for example, much more than the GT4. It's heavy, the pedals are heavy, but that's what makes it so rewarding when you have driven it. So now, with the noise, yes, it's loud, and I suppose, oh, that's a smoky Range Rover. That's not good at all. I'm going to back away because I don't want that anywhere near me. This is where, obviously, at slow speed, the valves are now open. Like, this is loud. This would get very, very drony. So this is where you can revert to closing it, and the valves will come over. There we go. And it's got a whole lot more quiet, and that's why they're there in the first place, to make it actually sane and sensible to drive. So now comfortable cruiser mode engage, and that's where you have your normal sport functionality doing what they always do, which is two things. One is valves and the point at which it would open the valve. So still now, if I slowed down and accelerated hard, we would get the valve noise above. Like here, you see it's valved, it's nowhere nearly as loud. So I'd have to go right down to first gear here, just to get above 4,500. There we go, and then you get the full volume as you had before. That's with sport, and even later without sport. So it does the valves and it does the throttle response. It just makes it feel like you're driving faster because it reacts more quickly to the pedal. But for now, when I'm driving on a main road, let's unlock this for all the noise we could ever have. It's the same volume, it's just from much earlier in the rev range, which is glorious fun, and that is what this kind of thing is about. So yes, you get the point. I'm looking forward to driving this around Italy with glorious noise everywhere. Now, the next thing to talk about is driving around Italy. Fuel Faction Due. So Fuel Faction ENA that we did last year, starting in Ljubljana, where we drove down Croatia to Montenegro and Bosnia, across Italy, and then finished in France, in Marseille. We did Ljubljana to Marseille, and that was an amazing trip with the LT, the FF, the GT4, and Mark, my manager's M2. Well, this year, or at least for Due number 2, we decided to bring it earlier in the year. There will be room for a third one later in the year, for sure. And Due, we are going to be driving all around Italy. Italy is my favourite country to drive in. I've said many times before, driving around Tuscany, just up in the Alps around Lake Como, Lake Garda, the Dolomites. It is a beautiful, beautiful country, and it's a very, very fun country to drive in. It's one of the countries that's still kind of entertaining. You don't feel like you're living in a complete police state like you do here in the UK, at least. And the whole of this video, by the way, has been on an average speed camera road so far, so like 40 miles an hour, you can't do anything else, or ticket comes through the post, done. But Fuel Faction Due, we're going to be starting in Turin, and we're driving round to Sardinia. So, how does that work? Because Turin to Sardinia, the direct route, is actually not very far. It's probably about 200 kilometers in a ferry, or maybe even less. We're going from Turin up towards Lake Como. Then we're going to cross over Lake Garda and go towards the Dolomites. It's going to be a slightly more touristic tour than before, because I'm going to be joined by a number of other people. So we have stops arranged along the way. We're then going to go to Venice, down through Bologna, Florence, Rome, and across to Sardinia to drive one of my favourite roads in the world when we get to Sardinia. Now, I can't be too specific with where we're going, when we're going to be there, and the dates and things for fairly obvious reasons. We want a bit of privacy along the route. I'm joined by a couple of friends, and basically we need to be keeping ourselves to ourselves. We might be posting on social media where we'll be, so follow that, and you'll be able to sort of get rough updates if we're coming past your area. But guys, I'm really sorry, we can't answer every question about where we're going to be and hotels and things for all sorts of reasons. I wish we could, but we've got to concentrate on making the videos and having fun as well, of course, for the other guys. So I'm going to be joined, well, I'm taking this car, the GT8 and the Vanquish, a bit of an Aston tour for me, but we're going to be joined by about 7 or 8 cars in total, a couple of other supercars, a couple of other internet names that you'll recognise when the guys get here, and I'll introduce everybody when we get started for Due as well. And obviously follow my Instagram and the Fuel Faction Instagram pages if you want to see a little bit more about who's coming and all the sort of plans and things that we have in the works. So Fuel Faction Due, I am really excited about. We put a lot of work into organising these. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of organising, and it's a massive thanks obviously to the sponsors and partners we're working with who make it happen. Trading 212, of course, again helping us out with the logistics and arrangements for this tour, but in a very different way. So I'm looking forward to sharing the sort of change of content with you guys, and what we're going to do for Fuel Faction Due. But this noise on mountain roads, it might not be the fastest car in the world, but it's going to be one of the most fun. Although I might feel like I've had a bit of a workout every single day. Let's see how that goes. I'm not going to be afraid of putting miles on it, and the car is going to stay in Italy afterwards for some more tours and trips and things around as well. The bubbles, the overruns. This car is ridiculous. It's like, it's expensive, it's slow, it's a bit garish and in your face, but somehow it's the best thing ever. It just all comes together into a wonderful, wonderful package. Anyway, I need to fill this up on my way back, but I'm pretty much going to wrap up this video, I think. The LT is back, great news on that front. And yeah, all the cars locked and loaded, ready for the Goodwood Supercar Sunday, which is going to kick off the morning after you guys watch this video. In fact, some of these videos I upload the same day. This one's going out same day as well. I'm ready for Goodwood, so I'll get that video edited as soon as I can. It's going to take me a bit. Is there any point in me talking over when I'm accelerating? Can you even hear? Just the blips. Do you know what? The LT is quiet. When you've driven GT8, LT doesn't make any noise at all. Even the FF starts to be a little bit quiet. The Vanquish at slow speeds is noisier than the FF is, but I'm about to go under a little bit of a bridge tunnel thingy. It's ludicrous! Anyway guys, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch up with you next, I think, probably with my video from the mini challenge race, and then it will be Goodwood Supercar Sunday. Hopefully see some of you there. Cheers!